You are listening to Rip It Up, the Renovations podcast.
Hi, I'm Kate. I run the Instagram page Victorian Math Mine.
And I'm Jenny. I run the Instagram account Workers Cottage.
This podcast is all about renovation and interiors from the renovator's perspective. We've been through it a few times between us and it hasn't scared us off.
In fact, we loved it. So if you are planning to do up your own home, you can expect to hear lots of advice from our own experience, along with plenty of tips and inspiration.
This is episode 7, where we dive into how to choose the perfect paint colours for your home. Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
Today is one of the most frequently asked topics, I would say. Colours.
Colours, paint. Yeah.
What colour should you paint your living room?
Oh, yeah. If I had €1 for every time someone asked me that.
And it's so hard because, it's the most subjective thing. There's approximately 24 billion different colours out there, all in different shades and tones, and it totally depends on where it goes in your room.
It depends massively. It depends on your light. It depends on the daylight you get in that room. If you get light at all, if there's natural light, what colour, like going back to our lighting, what warmth is your light bulb in that room? That can even affect it. But yeah, there's so many variables.
Yeah.
So when someone says, I want to paint my house an off-white, what should I paint it? I'm like, sorry, you really have to see the space in real life.
Yeah, you have to. You do. So I think back to our 2 principles that we always talk about is, number 1, how are you going to use the space? And then number 2, be true to the style of your own house. So with colour, how are you going to use the space means, how do you want it to feel? What is that room being used for? Are you relaxing there a lot? Do you need it to be bright and airy or cheerful? Do you want it to be dramatic and wake you up and make you feel, ready to get after the day? Or does it need to be really cozy and relaxed and chilled? That all needs to be considered before you even think about what kind of colour.
Yeah, definitely. And one room I think that divides people here is bedrooms. Some people love the idea of a fresh, bright, airy bedroom, gets you kind of up and at 'em first thing in the morning. And then some people love the idea of that dramatic, cozy bedroom.
Yeah.
That colours envelops the whole room up to the ceiling. Your bed linen is dark, everything. And people love that real kind of cozy space. So even that's hard to pick,
It's really
so
hard.
personal. It's such a personal choice.
Yeah. And then the second thing is stay true to the kind of style or aspect is probably the most important thing here of your house. So if you're looking at a south facing room versus the north facing room, like what time of day the light gets into that room physically changes the colour. Like
Massively,
the actual colour on the wall, it's different because it's all light at the end of the day. So if you have an east facing room where the sun is coming up in the morning, that's typically a more bluey light, a brighter light. And in the evening time, if you're in a room where you get the west facing sun or
That golden hour.
it's golden, yeah, exactly. So that's really going to bring out all the yellows if there's a yellow undertone or anything like that in your paint.
And I think a lot of people are allergic to that yellowy cream we all saw in the 90s in Ireland, magnolia paint. Everywhere. I think all of us can attest to some level of magnolia in our houses and maybe a yellow kitchen to boot.
Yeah.
And so I think Irish people in general are a little bit allergic to those colours now.
Yeah.
And people really want to steer clear of them. Unless they're completely different kind of yellows, like I'm looking at your cushions in your sofa and that kind of more, turmeric yellow or mustard. But I think those faint hues of yellow in off-whites is kind of not popular anymore.
A bit dirty or something.
Looks like a bit dirty, yeah.
There's something about yellow that's just a little... I love it. Yellow's actually my favourite colour, so I hate to bash magnolia, but it always just looks a bit dirty. It's like it looks like faded paint on the walls. Because back in the day when the paints were more oil-based, there's still a few out there, but usually it's water-based now. The oil would go off colour. Yeah. After a while, and it would look kind of yellowy, so that's what I feel kind of
for sure. And our house at the moment that hasn't been repainted used to probably be all gloss white on all the woodwork, and that woodwork is creamy yellow in parts where we haven't painted over it yet. So,
it looks like you've been smoking in there for
it's like exactly smoking 20 fags in your bedroom a day. Yeah.
Okay, so some shade of white is probably the most popular colour that people want or ask for because that's a perfect canvas for most of your house, and then you can choose colours. I mean, do whatever you want, but that's more common, I would say. So do you have any favourites that you go to?
I do. I have ones that I go to all the time, and I find they work well in Irish light. They're not, I wouldn't say they're universal, because if you have a load of south facing light, it will show up a bit more undertones than somewhere that's not so bright. But
we'll come back to undertones. These are important. I'll touch on those.
I have a few favourites, and I've done this by learning, or I found my favourites by, hard taught lessons. In my first renovation I did, and it's a lovely colour, don't get me wrong. I've seen it in other houses and I love it. It's the Colourtrend Subtle.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
And I do love it.
And I love that colour.
Yeah.
But my house, it looked really pinky purple.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And I also picked a complementary kind of deep charcoaly grey. I thought was complementary off a swatch, and got my kitchen done in that, and it was aubergine. So my whole house is kind of pinky purple. And it wasn't intentional, and I don't hate pinky purple, but I just wasn't expecting it. And it was just amazing because on the swatch I love subtle. I've seen other people's houses, including yours, and I love subtle. Yeah. And in my house it was terrible.
Yeah. I get the little pinky purple hue sometimes, but like this is such a ode to how important undertones are. Like undertones are basically every single paint in the world is the result of a mix of a lot of different colours.
For sure.
And you might have a dominant colour that is, you know, green, for example, but that green is going to be made of yellow and blue. We all remember primary school and how colours are made. So is it more yellowy? Is it more bluey? You know, there's the dominant colour, there's the main colour. You could call subtle just white or off-white. But the undertones in it there's kind of a brown in it.
And I think the colour cards can be really good at telling you this. So some paint colour cards and some brands are set up that they're kind of in columns of swatches. Yeah. And if you follow kind of your off-white down to the bottom of that column, it gets to what that undertone should be. Yeah. So like I'm talking about the, say, Farrow and Ball one here. When I look down, say, to the bottom one, it's London Clay, which is what I used to have in my old dining room, which is kind of
I loved that.
Chocolatey brown, but there's definitely a bit of purpley pink in that. So you can tell that the off-whites on the top of that column, you know, kind of have those undertones. Yeah. And equally, I had shaded white all over my last house, and I picked this colour from Rebecca Wakefield. I love that interior designer. Yeah, if you don't follow her, go follow her. She's amazing. But she does kind of semi-traditional kind of houses in the UK, and all her paint choices were always just perfect for those spaces. So I kind of copied her there, and I did shaded white all over my house. Yeah. Downstairs, up hall stairs, landing, and some of the bedrooms I painted slightly different.
I'm thinking of your shaded white. Was there a bit of green in that? A little bit?
Yeah, there definitely was. There was definitely more of a green, and I think I was so maybe traumatized by the amount of pink and purple that I probably went the other way and went with green instead. But yeah, it was a bit more in the cooler kind of cooler tones. It showed up very different to my kitchen, which had a lot of east facing light, I would say. And also my kitchen, because at the time the paint I chose didn't have a very good scrubbable paint, I colour matched it in a different brand. Oh. Yeah, and it was just never the same. It's just never the same. Like
I'm sure there's good colour matching places out there. I haven't come across them.
Yeah, like I found ones that can be a good match, but they never look the same as those kind of premium brands when they're on the wall. And now I know that people listen to this saying, I use Farrow and Ball paint and it's terrible, or I use this paint and it was terrible, and my painter won't use it. They want, you know, X brand. Fair enough. Everyone, you know, has their preference of what they like to paint with. Yeah. But there's kind of reasons I think some of these paints are very expensive. The paints are expensive because they have high pigment. You know, they have a lot of pigment in it.
And that lasts. That's important because that really lasts.
Exactly. It looks rich on the wall. It looks velvety on the wall because there's less binders used and things like that. So there's more pigment, less binders. You'll get that real rich colour that'll last. But it's sometimes, as a result, it can be kind of harder to paint with. Yeah. You need it runnier maybe. Yeah.
Or it might clog up nozzles if you're using a spray.
Sprayers. Good, great shout there. Yeah, I think it's worth it if you really want that richness of colour, I think sometimes.
The other thing that's really important about going with a brand instead of a colour match is that in a few years' time, you're going to have to repaint your wall, and you know, probably going to want to paint it the same colour. Like I've got scuff marks on my walls and a few cracks showing through from the house settling after getting it renovated. So I know that I can just go to Colourtrend, buy subtle, and it's going to be the same. Okay, you know, I don't want to paint just a patch on a wall because it might look different after a few years of fading and use and all that, but it's likely to be as close as possible. Yeah. Whereas if I go back to a colour match centre, it could be slightly different.
Oh yeah, and I think even in the same centre, getting colour matched and, you know, batches of it made, batch to batch, it can vary even in the same shop, I think. Yeah. You know, calibrations on the machine, all that, you can get slightly different results. I got the same one colour match twice, and I did a different area, and it was definitely a slightly different finish. Yeah. Even though the percentage sheen was meant to be the same, it just looks slightly different on the wall when I painted beside it. So you'd see the kind of line or the divider where I use the new paint. So yeah, it's definitely a watch out. For me, if I can find the colour I love in a particular brand, I will probably go for that brand.
I think it's worth it.
For longevity, for richness of colour, for the pigment, I just think it'll be a better result. Yeah. So yeah, but there's a million brands out there, right? So there's a million brands to pick your colour. So you'll probably find your colour somewhere.
Totally. One thing as well, I think we always talk about this is you can balance it budget-wise, because if you're looking for branded paint, some of them can be really expensive. And if you've got a big house, I totally understand you're not going to want to blow a lot of your budget on paint. But choose the rooms where you do really care about the colour, and then maybe, you know, your ceilings, for example, or if you're not fussed about your guest rooms or the outside of your house, balance it out. Like, you don't have to completely go branded in every single space.
Exactly, yeah. You might want to really, you know, blow the budget on your entrance hall for it to be dramatic. But absolutely, I remember this paint I had in my old bedroom, and my husband rarely compliments the paint or, you know, comments on it too much. Like, he'd be like, yeah, the colour's fine. As long as I don't pick anything too pinky, he's generally okay with it.
He hated your first house.
Yeah, he's like, do you realise our kitchen is kind of purple? I was like, no, I didn't really. That was my mistake. But anyway, our old bedroom was drop cloth by Farrow and Ball. It's kind of a shade deeper than that shaded white, but oh my God, the walls were like velvet. Like, it just... That room was just so calm and so soft. And he used to even say it all the time, I love the colour in this room. He still says it. And he's like, when we're renovating this house, can we paint our bedroom drop cloth again? Like, it was just such a gorgeous colour for a bedroom. Yeah. So rich and so velvety on the walls. But yeah, there's lots of different kind of brands, different kind of colours to suit. Yeah. But one thing I found more recently, well, from my purple kitchen as well, Irish Light can, you know, show up paint a lot different than, you know, maybe where certain paint brands are designed for. So be careful with that. And sometimes going with the Irish brands of paint can work really well, because they've been specifically designed to match that kind of bluey light or that grey kind of, you know. Yeah,
I've Colourtrend in most of my house, and I think it just made here, it works for here. I think it, you know.
Yeah, and if you're a big fan of like those premium paints like Farrow and Ball, then try, you know, Irish brands like Farrelly, who do a similar kind of highly pigmented paint. Yeah. So because
I think that's why it shows up so lush, that the drop cloth that you had is because there's so much pigment in it. I keep coming back to this, but it's really important. Yeah, the pigment is expensive. Like, that is what you're paying for.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're paying for sure. Obviously, you can colour match, but like Jen said, you know, consider you might need to repaint some stage.
The other thing I was thinking we were just talking about the swatches. I think they're a bloody waste of time. I can't tell a thing.
Oh, and the tiny
swatches. They're so tiny,
because
it looks so different, and like, so you really, really, really need to see a big surface area in the room where the paint is going in, which might not always be possible. Maybe you're not able to, you know, paint over a lot of the wall for whatever reason. Like, maybe you're going to be choosing for a long time and you don't want paint streaks all over your nice living room wall. But what I would do then is I would get a big sheet of white paper, at least A3, A2 if you can get it, A0 even better, and buy a pot of paint samples. I know they're a fiver, they're expensive, and you might go through a few of them, but it's worth it. Yeah. And
it's worth it than having a whole pink and purple house by accident.
And paint that and then hang it on the wall and then check, because you'd be surprised, and make sure you check it morning, evening, afternoon, and it's going to look different, and just make sure it's what you want. The second thing I would say is, again, because I can't tell from those little tiny swatches, that was a brilliant tip about, you know, look down the list of the swatch at the darkest colour. If for whatever reason you don't have that swatch, or you don't have access to that swatch, another thing that's helpful is to pick some items that are a very just strong primary colour, so like a blue item, a red item, a yellow item, and hold that up against the sample, and you're able to see a bit more easily what undertones are in that sample of the off-white. So if you've got a small piece of, let's go back to shaded white, for example, if you held up a blue or yellow or a green or whatever, you're able to see a little bit. They're like, okay, this one kind of goes a bit with green. Yeah, it does calibrate your eye. Yeah, it takes a bit of practice, but it can be handy if you're stuck with swatches and you need to be able
because
to
if you had 10 off-white samples in your hand, like, it starts to become impossible. Yeah. I follow some Instagram accounts that were trying to decide their off-whites or whatever, and they had a million painted on the wall and doing polls, and sure, you're looking at it through your phone. Yeah. Like, what goes to poll through your phone? Like, I'm seeing it completely different than she is in real life. So totally. It's like, yeah, it's really hard to judge unless you have something like that.
That's important. Seeing it on screen is really, really difficult. I mean, use it to help narrow down your choices, but you have to see it in real life. You really do. Yeah.
So I've seen really good. So paint pots are one, which are a little bit of a pain, but like Jen said, paint it on some paper and move it around. You can get the big swatches, you know, like on an A4, and some of them are even bigger now. Like there's A5 and A4 ones, I think, that I've seen in different brands. And then there's some peel and stick samples, which are amazing.
That's brilliant.
So you can actually stick it to the wall, move it between the rooms, and like you said, look at it morning, noon and night in each room. Yeah. And even with your lighting, you know, that's going to change it. So definitely consider the kind of warmth of light that you're going to have in that room as well.
Yeah. How did you decide then? So you touched on the colour that you had in your previous dining room, which was beautiful. It was this really cozy, very elegant, chocolatey, browny. Oh my God, it was fab. But that's a bold colour because your whole dining room was very dark then.
Yeah, I definitely went. I'm probably not as brave with colour as you are.
Yeah, I do love colour.
But you do it well. Like you do it in pops of colour, but like they're slightly muted. I wouldn't say you have mad Julie tones all over your house. So they're still a bit more muted, right?
That is, and that word tone is important. So when you're looking at colours, mine are a bit muted because they will all have a bit more black in them. So really tone is just how much black is added to a colour to make it, you know, lighter or darker. So everything I chose, every sample I got, I was like, that looks a little bit too dark. But actually when it's in a big size and there's lots of light hitting it from your windows or whatever, it always ends up looking a bit brighter. So that's one tip. I always think samples look darker than the actual final product. But I think it's worth, if you like that, you know, more muted-y kind of look that's not too vibrant and too overwhelming, going for a slightly darker tone, I think really helps because you can still get loads of colour in that way, but it's just not too bright and kind of sore on the eye.
Yeah, for sure.
Depends on what you like. Everyone likes different things. That's what I liked.
Yeah, but that dark, there's a couple of reasons I went for that dark dining room in my last house. So first of all, I kind of laid out the different colours I was going for. I was going for shaded white in all the common areas, living space, kitchen. And then our bedroom drop cloth was a complementary kind of shade deeper than that. And then that middle dining room didn't really have any natural light. Like there was an opening out to the kitchen, but there was no window in that room because we had extended out where the window used to be. And our fireplace was an original fireplace and was black marble.
Yeah.
So we were like, will we go shaded white all the way through? And we were like, but it's going to show up different because there's no light in here, whatever. So I just thought I really wanted this room to be kind of very adult, I guess.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be cozy and somewhere we'd put our dining table and just like actually spend a few hours in there. So I decided to just embrace the darkness. We had dark wood floors. We went, you know, dark on the walls. We had the black marble fireplace. So yeah, I think I just decided to embrace the darkness and I was happy I did. I think I would do it again, especially if I didn't have natural light.
I loved it.
And I've actually done similar really dark rooms for clients recently as well, like a kind of a dark greeny colour. And I love it. The more I see in other people's houses, like I'm like, wow, I really want to do that kind of dark room again. And the one thing I changed about that, I kept my woodwork classically white in that room. And I couldn't, the room just didn't settle with me. And about 6 months in, I painted the woodwork. And
Colour drenched it.
Yeah, I colour drenched it. And I didn't go so far as the coving in the ceilings. But I think I would if I did it again.
I think I would too. So colour drenching is where you literally paint everything. So not just the walls, but also the architraves, the back of the doors. And I'm 100% with you on this. If you're going to go for a really dark dramatic colour, colour drench it.
Yeah.
Don't hold back. Don't be, you know, like feature walls were very popular for a while there. I'm like, no, forget the feature wall. Paint the whole thing. Like if you're going to go for a colour, really go for it, I think.
Yeah. And I did similar in our downstairs WC. Do you remember?
Yeah, I loved it. The Divine Savage.
Yeah, so I had off black on the walls and the wallpaper itself was kind of off black. So it was a tiny little black WC and I just thought it was cool to go into from a kind of a bright kitchen. So I think that's somewhere you can definitely afford to kind of go really dramatic. If you're maybe not brave enough to do your whole dining room, do your WC or something.
Always go wild in your downstairs WC. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? It's a tiny little room. It's fully enclosed. Just go for it.
Oh yeah, talking about downstairs toilet.
That's a whole episode there.
Tell me about your paint colour in your downstairs. How did you land on that?
So I have Subtle by Colourtrend. I really love it. Again, it's made for Ireland. It's got that slightly brown undertone, which I just love.
Maybe just not designed for Galway, because that's where I had it. or maybe it is if you love that kind of purpley pink undertone.
Yeah, and also my main living room is facing west and a little bit south, so it's getting a lot of bright evening light, which I think is the golden light probably offsets the pinky colour a little bit. I think I love it. I think it's, for me, I think it's a perfect off-white because it's a little bit warm but not overwhelming. It's not dark. It's a more cheerful kind of warm. I also love Arctic Blonde. I've seen that in a few homes recently.
It's very popular.
It's so nice in Ireland. Yeah,
I usually kind of steer clear of it in traditional homes. Yeah, I definitely think it's more for a contemporary space. Whereas I think in traditional homes it kind of shows up. It's a great white for ceilings and kind of woodwork if you want that slightly soft white. But I think it's a little bit too bright, almost white for kind of walls in traditional homes.
Maybe if you're in a darker room, like a north-facing room or something like that, it could be lovely in there.
It's really amazing though for contemporary spaces. I think. Yeah.
And then my other colours I have in my spare room / office, I have Studio Green by Farrow and Ball, which I love. It's a really deep dark green, kind of looks almost black sometimes. And actually, forget what I said there about colour drenching, because I didn't colour drench that room. I only brought it halfway up that room, because I work in there a lot. If it was a different usage, I would probably be much braver at colour drenching, but I work in there, you know, a few days a week.
You need to feel a bit.
I need a bit bright, yeah. I need a bit of brightness in there, but I still wanted something dramatic. And I love, because I use it as a spare bedroom too, I love green, any kind of shade of green, to be honest, in a bedroom. I think it's the most calming, soothing colour. Absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
So I brought it halfway up the walls on panelling, but I did paint the back of the door, and I did paint the skirting and the architrave in that colour as well. And then I have wallpaper on the top half. So that's another maybe less dramatic way to bring in a really bold colour, is to bring a part of the way up your walls. I mean, that effectively is colour blocking, but colour blocking is another option. So maybe you have a normal colour, or, you know, regular kind of off-white colour on your walls, but maybe you do your skirting and your back of your door and your architrave, or your outline of your window, or the back of an alcove or something like that in a different colour, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting now, because a lot of places, especially for traditional kind of old homes like mine, people typically go with the classic white woodwork, white door frames, and then more recently people have been colour drenching and doing it all the same. And then some people are going darker, so the walls will be light and the woodwork will be dark and all the trim will be dark. And I saw that a lot in the last maybe year or two, and where the walls might be something like subtle, or something like whatever, shaded white, schoolhouse white, something like that. And then the woodwork will be like that charcoal grey or whatever, you know, really deep, cool, like contrast, which is cool contrast. And then more recently I've seen ones that are almost the same, but the woodwork is just like a shade deeper.
I like that.
I really love it. It looks so sharp. It looks so
like
crisp.
One shade down in the palette or whatever, if you're looking at the
And it still looks real bright, you know, crisp, contemporary, but it just gives that bit of depth rather than it being all the same. This episode is kindly sponsored by Farrelly & Co., a new premium Irish paint brand founded by husband and wife team Rachel and Alan. Inspired through their experience transforming and restoring homes across Ireland, their interior paint brand is richly pigmented, zero VOC and certified child safe. Their innovative peel and stick samples make choosing colours mess free. To find out more, follow their Instagram at Farrelly & Co. or head to their website at farrellyandco.com.
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that. I think that's a really elegant look, and it looks really like a lot of thought has gone into something like that. It's a bit different. It's not too dramatic. I think that sounds great. Yeah.
And when you talk about colour drenching, especially in dark colours, but I think if you have white, say, woodwork and white ceilings in a really dark space, it can kind of cut the space off.
Yeah.
So you can afford to do it maybe if you've really high ceilings already, but if you don't, I think that ceiling is going to be coming down on your head. So you're better off then, I think, to go up in the ceiling and everything if you're going to go dark.
I agree. Do everything. Do your radiator, do the back of your doors, do everything. Just I think go for it.
I always say that, paint your radiator, and people say, can you paint your radiators? I'm like, absolutely.
You can paint anything. I follow Instagram accounts of people who paint their microwaves. Like you can paint anything.
Yeah, you can paint absolutely anything.
Yeah. Other colour then that I have in my downstairs is wild raspberry, also by Colourtrend, in my downstairs bathroom, because that is a really vibrant, deep, very, very rich
Where did that come from? Colour. Like, how did you land on it?
I saw a photo on the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of it, something similar. And I just went trawling through colour samples to find it. I didn't want to colour match it.
Did you have your raspberry wall colour picked first, or your terrazzo?
I had the terrazzo pick first.
You had the terrazzo pick first, so it had to be complementary.
Yeah, it had to complement that. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So the terrazzo has a bit of dark green in it. It has that kind of a dark reddish kind of ambery colour, which picks up on the raspberry very nicely, and it has a kind of a yellow mustardy colour. So actually all the colours in the terrazzo are, I would say, picked up by my main colours on my couch and my walls and everything. Yeah, so
it's a great way to tie the place together.
Yeah.
You start to see those, like, it's like that. You might have seen going around at the moment where they're saying they put the single item of red in a room.
Oh, I really am into that at the moment.
Yeah, I'm so into it as well.
Like red theory.
The red theory. Yeah, that's it. I've seen loads of videos on it, and I never noticed it. But then when I see loads of spaces, even if they were super contemporary, slick, you know, minimal spaces, and then this one pop of red, whether it's a red side table or, in my case, I have a reddish sofa, I suppose.
Yeah.
I just think it really pops in the room.
Totally.
And it's against the kind of all neutrals that we're so used to seeing at the moment, which I really like. I like that kind of commit to one item of red.
I think it's class. Yeah. Like, it could be a lamp, it could be just a side table, like you said, but something small that is red or like an adjacent shade to red. Like, it could be a really rich, you know, burgundy. Dark red, burgundy or a burnt orangey colour or something.
Yeah, along that warm spectrum. Yeah,
even flowers, like you could get, you know, a bright bunch of like really vibrant red flowers, and I always feel flowers and plants, if you want to bring in colour, are such a great way of doing it without committing to a colour, because they always look good anywhere. They always fade kind of into the background a little bit.
And you have a lot, and so do I. It's dried flowers.
Dried
Love
flowers.
them.
Shout out to the Crate if anyone is looking for them.
I still have mine. I have mine from the Crate for 3 years, I'd say.
The ones behind you were 3 years old at least.
They're still as vivid, you know, the gorgeous burnt oranges and reds. And they're perfect. You never have to change them.
And then you don't have to buy plastic flowers.
Yeah.
They're amazing. I absolutely love them. They do beautiful bouquets.
Yeah.
Really like those.
But yeah, plants, I agree with you. I have plants probably everywhere. I'm not very green fingered. Like I kill
everything.
A lot of plants, but I've gotten better. I've gotten better in the last few years. I've kept the ones I have alive, even with 2 children trying to pull them down and kill them and dig out the soil all the time. They're still alive.
How? Your gardens are unreal. You tulips and everything in your gardens are fab.
That's not really me now. I can't.
Okay.
I go out and do the jobs with my husband, but like I'm going to give him his kudos for the gardens. I just go along with whatever he says.
I've won that Kentia palm over in the corner of my living room that I picked up in Dunn's the day before the cameras were coming for Home of the Year, because I just needed something in that corner. It's the only thing I've managed to keep alive. I just throw a cup of water into it every now and then. It seems to like that.
I think a drop of that baby bio feed,
That's
like
what I
once every 2 months or something,
Yeah.
a drop or 2 of that into the water and it's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. But you said actually about plants inside and plants outside. And one thing I did in my old house, so I have that kind of corally terracotta brick coloured sofa,
I love that.
which my kind of initial intention was to match kind of the brick on the red brick houses that you saw out the window of the living room. But actually we planted an Acer tree in the middle of our front garden. So it's a Japanese Acer plant. So it's like a 5 kind of, fingered kind of leaf plant.
Okay.
You've probably
So
seen
just
them
green, like all leafy green.
It's green, but it changes colour through the seasons. And the stems go really vivid red.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's like it changes colour dramatically from kind of summer to autumn to winter and stuff. And even winter, when it loses its leaves, you still have these bright red stalks.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice way of like tying outside to inside as well. And even that makes it kind of cohesive. Because you look out the window and you start pulling in those kind of colours. So that's definitely something to consider. What's out in your garden? Can you pull some of that? Maybe you might have a pot of like really vivid red flowers or something like that out there.
Yeah,
that might tie with something inside. But
one thing I heard about colour, and I always do it, it got stuck in my head, and it wasn't to do with interiors actually, it's to do with dressing yourself and like making sure your outfit goes, was if you're going to introduce a colour, introduce it 3 times. So if you're going to have, I have my mustard couch, for example, but then I also have the mustard footstool, and then I also have the same colour mustard cushions over in my dining area.
Okay, it's like repeated.
It's balance. It's all balance. It's such an important theme, I think, in design in general, but in interior design, if you have that colour balanced out somewhere else.
Okay, and you start to, I'd say, recognise that pattern as you go through someone's house. You mightn't see, oh, look, she's got that, mustardy yellow 3 times in her house, but your eye and you start to feel like the space is cohesive.
Yeah, completely. It feels more natural or something to the human eye. Or I have obviously the navy in my kitchen. There's then the similar navy in my dining area, and then above my couch I have 3 prints that are a very, very similar navy as well. It always stuck in my head to, if there's a bright colour being introduced,
I think just
either Colourtrend or repeat it 3 times.
And I think that kind of cohesiveness through the rooms and through the areas in your house is really important. So like, don't just go absolutely wild in a bedroom that it doesn't go with anything. Yeah, you can go deeper shade or whatever.
Do it in your downstairs WC. But not in
But even your downstairs WC, like, see that it's somewhat kind of complementary, that they don't scream at each other like it looks out of place.
Yeah, and the way to do that is samples of everything. Every time you're going shopping, I used to have a bag of samples of the fabric of my sofa, the colours of my wall. I would just have a bag of them and a measuring tape, and I'd bring that everywhere with me. One
really easy way, if you don't have a lot of software, you might have PowerPoint or whatever, or Canva or whatever, but I find it really good to just screenshot some of the swatches online. Now I know that's not going to be true to what it looks like in your house, but the visual representations of all the paint colours you're looking at, screenshot them, crop them, and then put them all on one slide together.
Totally.
And just see what they sit like together, and even drop in a screenshot of some of the furniture you're thinking of or whatever, and you'll start to see very quickly, you'll build up your own little style boards, your mood boards really quickly. Even if you have your floor, throw it in, even better, like a screenshot of your flooring. But just to see them all in one space together, your eye just kind of, I suppose, goes over them and tells you what's not sitting right.
Like, you have to see it. There's no other way of doing it. Like, you always have to see those things. I think PowerPoint, I use PowerPoint all the time. And I know there's loads of brilliant tools out there and I use those too, but PowerPoint is just handy because everyone has it.
Yeah.
Like all you have to do is import a photo onto a slide and as many as you want and you can just lay them out together. It's brilliant for mood boards if you're just not
Crop
used to
everything, remove backgrounds and stuff like that. It's got
really
that
good.
tool, it's brilliant. Do you
And
know what I use?
Canva's unreal.
Canva's brilliant. But you know what's even good? Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Like pretend you're going to put up a story and then you can add all your photos as other ones and you can rearrange them, you can turn them, you can scale them, you can crop them, whatever. Like, so that's a really handy
And you can
tool.
download it, so you don't have to post it as a story. So no one else is going to see it. But you can, if you go to the dots on the right hand side, you can press download and it'll save it as a photo to your camera because that's really handy. Like
So
you want that photo handy.
If you ever see like random pictures of colour swatches on my page, it's probably because I hit post by accident rather than just download it. But
There's another really great website called Coolers, Coolers, and that's brilliant at generating a palette for you. So say if you have one or two colours that you know you love and you really want to go with it and you're not sure what else you should use as accent colours or, you know, other complementary colours, you can upload them there. You can type in the code, you know, the hex code or whatever else you have, or you can take a photo and colour match it, like eyedrop it, and it will suggest a colour palette for you, which is really handy.
That's very handy. Yeah. That is very
Or I always find go on the websites of the paint companies, because usually when you pick a colour, they will advise you. A thing will show up at the bottom, like these are the complementary colours.
Complementary colours. Yeah, definitely.
A lot of them do that.
The one thing I would, you know, use a bit of caution or employ a bit of caution is the generated kind of images of rooms on Paint Colour website to say like, this is what it'll look like in this painted kitchen.
It will not look like
It won't look like that. Like it won't look like that. And there's some kind of software that you can kind of put it in your own room and you can pick a wall. Don't trust that. Like it's not going to be the same light as your room. It's not going to look the same. So swatches, stick them on the wall, paint squares of paper or whatever you can do, but don't trust computer generated only for paint colours.
No, it's not accurate. It just isn't. And it, like, you can tell it's not accurate because if you look at it on your phone and then on your laptop or whatever else you have, or a friend's phone or somebody else's phone, they will look different. It just does. It's just the nature.
What do you think? I think we're seeing it a lot now in this kind of neutrals trend that's going around. There'd be various versions of the same colour, right? So at the moment it might be beiges and browns and whatever, and it's very layered and textured, but you can do that with other colours as well. Like,
I love that look. So you call that monochromatic because it is the same colour, but lots and lots of different tones. They're just different tones, or they have slightly different undertones. I bloody love it. I think it looks class. And I saw it a lot. I was at Maison et Objet in September, which is a big kind of interior design trade show. And I saw it in a few different places. One of the favourite rooms I saw it in was they had just gone all green for the entire room. There was a green chandelier, there was a green table, there was a green rug on the floor, there was a green paint on the wall, there was a green couch. Everything was green. Green is a safe kind of colour to do it with because it's not an overwhelming colour. We, like, our minds just tend to put green in the background, maybe because of nature. Really. But I loved it. I thought it was so cool.
That's cool, yeah. And it's real rich, isn't it? Like it just fills the space. Yeah. And I think it can be a really smart choice for small spaces as well. Yeah. Because your eye can't tell where one thing stops and one thing kind of starts a little bit.
It gives a lot of depth to a room. A lot of depth because it's layers and layers of the same thing. It's kind of looking at an image of a horizon that goes on forever. There's just layers of slightly different colours. I think it looks class. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. No, I really like it. And I kind of think that, like, I do it inadvertently, I suppose, in that, like, trying to pick complementary shades of the same colour. Yeah. Or like different deeper shades of the same colour in the same room.
I'd say your dining room had it. Because it had lots of shades of that dark kind of...
It did, yeah. The dark marble, the dark floors. Yeah, they were all dark until...
It was really cool.
You know, when I did the woodwork. Eventually, it all went together.
So there's a few terms that are good to know because, like, how you pick what colour goes with what is important. So that is monochromatic, like lots of different types of shades of the same colour. Then I use this all the time and it's so old fashioned, but the colour wheel, just Google colour wheel. You'll find it anywhere. It's so handy, especially if you have some idea of a colour that you know you love, that you're drawn to, which you can tell by looking in your wardrobe or just putting together a mood board of things that you like. And using the colour wheel is really helpful to help you match or marry different colours to come together to achieve the effect that you want. So if you want a really, calm, cohesive house, you can just get complementary colours. They're on opposite sides of the colour wheel and that's perfect for an accent. If you're a little bit braver, you can go triadic, which is basically if you just drew a triangle kind of on the colour wheel and picked the 3 points. If you're really brave and you want like a wild pop, you can pick ones that aren't complementary at all, but you just need to put them beside each other and see how they go.
How do you do it? Sorry, the triadic. You're just saying it's equidistant on the colour wheel?
Yeah, so if you were looking at the colour wheel and you just basically draw an equilateral triangle on it, at the 3 points are 3 complementary colours, which you know will go well together, and you can choose different shades and tones, etc. of those. But that they're always a safe bet. You know they're going to go.
Actually, slightly off topic, but not really. It's still about paint colours. Is the pops of colour kind of idea that, you know, in your WC and whatever. But also your pantry. We talked about it in your kitchen episode.
Yeah.
It's kind of an unexpected pop of colour.
Yeah.
So like your WC can be an unexpected pop of colour when you open the door and it's totally different than the rest of the room. But you have a pink pantry inside and a navy.
I've pocket doors in my pantry, so when I open the doors, they slide back in. And then the most of my kitchen is painted navy. It's Railings by Farrow. And then the inside of that is a nice mustardy colour. Same as my couch.
It's a great way of kind of not committing, maybe.
Yeah.
Massively.
And I do, because I keep saying I don't love an accent wall, but actually I'm sitting here looking out at my garden and I technically have one because my garden wall is a very bright colour and you could kind of consider that an accent wall.
What colour is the pink? Is the colour match?
Don't know. I just got a colour match, yeah. For an outdoor paint, I kind of wasn't as fussed about getting a good quality as the indoor.
The reason I ask, I remember when I was growing up, I used to paint my room every couple of months. Like, that would be out. I'd save my pocket money and paint my room. But Dulux used to have this range in the 90s called MySpace. I don't know if you ever remember it. So it was all like kids' paint colours. And like my bedroom at one stage was indigo and that hot pink. So I can't remember. I had like 3 walls pink and 1 wall indigo, or vice versa. But like, I'd see my bedroom from space. Like, you could definitely see it from the road anyway.
It reminds me, remember those roller skates we used to get? It was like pink and purple roller skates. I don't know why they all stood out in my memory.
Colours. Yeah. But like that pink really reminds me of my old bedroom.
Yeah.
I was like 8 or 9.
Do you know what? There's one in the Farrow and Ball range I love called Rangwali. And I wanted something similar to that, but a bit brighter. So I think that might have been my reference colour.
Yeah, that's gorgeous, yeah.
Fab. Any last advice if you want a stronger colour? So we've gone through the off-whites, let's say. But say if you want to go with a brighter colour or a stronger colour, or you're picking, you know, a main bright colour for your sofa. It doesn't have to necessarily be paint, but something else. Do you have any advice for how to decide what to go for? So both of us painted our kitchens a pretty strong colour. Yours was a green, Caldwell green, I think, was it?
Benjamin Moore. Yeah, Benjamin Moore has some beautiful colours as well.
Yeah.
And really nice paint.
How do you decide like which bright colour to go?
God, I don't know actually. How did I land on that? I suppose it has to be complementary to the paint colours that I'm going for on the walls.
Yeah.
But I really try and draw from kind of what I'm seeing outside those windows as well in the room.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. Make sure it goes.
I would say I definitely have a tendency more toward kind of earthy colours or slightly muted or faded out colours. Like you said, the bits of black in it to bring it a bit deeper, maybe not as vivid. I kind of steer away from kind of jewelly bright colours. They're just not, I don't know, maybe they just, for me. So that's probably where I started. Probably kind of started drawing from the outside. Like we said before, I think in the furniture episode, my sofa was like number 1. I picked the sofa first.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Everything in my house was designed around that yellow sofa because I love that yellow.
I picked the sofa, then I picked the wall colour that was kind of complementary, and then it kind of snowballed, I suppose. I tried to go from room to room to room, then it kept kind of running into each other and was cohesive that way, I would say. And the green we picked was just a little bit of a pop, but it was still along those kind of earthy green colours and earthy colours in the rest of the house. And if you remember my kitchen, so I had the green and the main units, but the far wall was also a panelled wall of units or kind of hidden units. And that was the same colour as the walls. Yeah. So it had to be kind of complementary, you know? So yeah, I'd say that's probably how I did it. How did you do
think there's really good advice there because we both picked a colour first. So you had your sofa picked in a certain colour. I had mine picked in a certain colour. I just always wanted a yellow couch. I love it. And then I think the key piece of advice is to work towards that. Like keep that being your focal point, because picking a focal point in every room is a great place to start for design anyway. And the same is true for colours. And everything you're picking after that should be in some way, you know, complementary or should in some way go. I think that's really good.
Yeah. And you mentioned the pink colour as well, Rangwali or whatever. There was also another one I saw and it went kind of viral on the Irish brand I was mentioning a while ago, Farrelly and Co. So they put up this kind of pink a while back. It's Misty Rose.
Oh, fabulous.
But it's this gorgeous, if you like,
so
that kind of
that
earthy
really
pink.
muted earthy.
And it was actually kind of like what I had my hall door in a few years ago in my last house. But if you kind of want that kind of pink, but not maybe as vivid, I just think those dusty pinks are gorgeous.
I think even your husband would be okay with that pink. It's such
I got away with it on the hall door.
Yeah.
The hall door was yellow. And that was like my first thing to paint.
Yeah.
But yeah, those dusty pinks I think can be really nice as well.
Yeah. My last question, how do you feel about painting your ceiling?
As in the same colour as the walls?
Yeah.
Yeah, all for it. I'm kind of on the school of thought now. It shouldn't be white anymore.
Yeah.
At least should be a soft white. And I think we did pretty much kind of real white or all brilliant white in our last house. We did Farrow and bought all white, which is slightly soft, but it's still very white. I think I go a bit deeper, closer to the walls. There isn't such a contrast, because what I was saying before is that line between your ceiling and your walls then is very stark if you go for any kind of depth on your walls. It's a little different in older houses where you're cornicing and stuff like that, because then you commit to painting the cornicing.
Yeah, and it's nice to have, I like both. I've seen it done both ways, where the cornicing is painted the same colour, or it's a real standout. You know, you can use it to contrast, which is really cool too. I like both.
The one thing on the cornicing is, like, it depends on the house. Some cornicing is so detailed that trying to get a paint into all those little nooks is serious effort. And if you go dark in your walls and you paint all that cornicing, you ain't never going to paint that light again. Like,
some cornicing is so delicate, you might not want to layer it either. You might want to just leave it as it is. Yeah,
and I feel like plasterwork is something you shouldn't touch too much. So that's where I kind of draw the line a little bit. I'm like, I don't really want to paint the cornicing besides a light lick of kind of whatever the light white or off-white is. But committing to a dark on the cornicing, I don't know.
It's a bold move, yeah. I think, again, be guided by the house and what the house.
For sure, yeah. Okay.
One final thing to finish off on. So at the start of the episode, we were talking about how do you use the room, what do you want to be used for, and how do you let that kind of guide your colour decision making. And that's really important, because different colours will elicit different kind of moods or make you feel a certain way. It's really, I think it's very powerful. Like the colours you're surrounded by, I think they definitely have an impact on your mood, and the atmosphere is maybe a better word.
I always find like a gym never has a calming misty
blue. No, and it shouldn't. And I remember my school used to have all these primary colours all over the place, and it, it's supposed to be stimulating and all that. But whatever about mood, certainly atmosphere, it definitely impacts the atmosphere. So I think it's like your dining room was such a good example of that. Like that, you wanted that to be used primarily in the evenings, sitting around with some candles maybe going and the fire on and glass of wine, and, you and the family or you and your friends. And that's what it's supposed to support, is that type of activity. So that dark, cozy, elegant colour, I think really works there. So it's like, what do you want to achieve in that room? Like how, and colours will do that.
But do you think like a bedroom then should always be cozy dark?
No, because I think it's so different to everyone. Like, I think what colours will make me feel a certain way will do something different for you. So I think it's for everyone to choose how they want to use that space, how they want to feel in that space, and then for them to decide what colours will do that. Like, okay, typically like a really bright colour will probably be more stimulating, but it's different for everyone.
Like a luminous yellow wall opposite where you sleep.
I mean, do what you want to do. Like, that's up to you. If you're someone who bounces out of bed at 6 a.m, you might want luminous,
green. Or like my pink and blue bedroom when I was a kid. Probably not what you want for a bedroom.
Did you have more energy?
No.
I don't know if it's that universal. I don't know that much about colour theory, but it's for you to decide like how you feel and what colours do to you and how they make you.
Yeah, I said recently I was staying in a hotel. The bedrooms were this lovely dusty blue. It's never something I would have considered for a bedroom, actually. Never at all. But I loved it. It was just, the bedroom was so calm. Now, I know I was in a little mini holiday or whatever, staying in a hotel, but still, it just felt like it felt clean, it felt fresh, but it also felt really calming and relaxing. So it's definitely something.
Yeah. Blues and greens typically are more calming, relaxing. Kind of yellows and oranges and reds are more bright and vibrant.
Yeah.
But it's all different for everyone.
And I think especially be careful in Ireland with your greys and off-whites, that sometimes very cool lighting as well as a grey wall can just zap the energy and light out of a room.
We've too much grey in our sky.
We've too much.
It's just too much grey.
Yeah. Unless you've a very minimal kind of architecturally designed home that you want that very cool look, like when we were talking in our lighting episode and about having lots of spots and bright lights and cool lights. But yeah, I think steer clear of too much grey, I think, in Ireland with our climate.
Agreed.
So I think that's everything for painting colours.
I think we could do a bunch of different episodes on colours. We could go into specific rooms, specific colours. So I'd love to hear from you, listeners, if you have any questions off the back of that, or if you have any suggestions, or even just send us some cool photos of
paint colours we love.
Yeah,
and we'll feature them. Because I think paint is an absolute minefield. Like you said, how many colours are there?
14 billion.
Yeah, there's enough colours, and there's so many brands and so many versions of similar colours that like it's hard to pick, and it's hard to pick the right one first time.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think as much expert opinion we can get here, the better.
Agreed. So that has been episode 7, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for episode 8.
Yeah, thanks for listening. See you soon.
Bye.
If you found that episode useful, please do us a huge favour by giving us a like and a few stars, and especially click that subscribe button. Thank you.